Alright, this is John Colo with OKRaw.com to another exciting episode for you here in November. And oh my gosh, like the day before Thanksgiving is when I'm filming this episode, and I did like a search on a map last night of the weather across the country. Like some places it's already like freezing at night, and even in the 20s, which is totally insane. I mean, in here it's like in the 50s, maybe 40s at night, and the days are hovering in high 60s, maybe 70s if we're lucky, and my garden is going off. I could not imagine living in a place that was even colder than this. In any case, today's episode is the Q&A that I like to do, answering your guys' questions. If you guys have a question for me, I may answer it in an upcoming episode. Link to my community tab, which is in the description, so that you can post a question for me that may appear in next month's Q&A. I'm glad that I get to share my answers to your guys' questions in these videos, because I've been living a raw foods diet now since 1995, basically 99% for the majority of that time, and more recently incorporating small amounts of select heat processed foods that I have videos about, linked down below if I remember. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into your questions today. We got a bunch of them printed out here. First question is from Candace Me. Can I have a link to where you buy your sea moss if you use sea moss? So here's the thing. Like, I bought sea moss back when it was like a fad back in the day when it first came out, and I still have that almost original package I barely used. I barely use it. That being said, I should probably use it a little bit more than I do, which is basically not at all. But the other thing is, for me, I'm all about sourcing the highest quality ingredients that I can find and that are available. And unfortunately, a lot of the sea moss that I looked into, I didn't really like the quality, or the you know, it's from like Philippines or something like that, like in Asia a lot of times. Plus, it's just the same common stuff you get at the health food store or from raw food superstores online. So luckily, I was at a farmer's market just a month ago, actually, and I found this stuff. And this is actually the sea moss. But this is not the standard sea moss, this is purple sea moss. And when I saw the purple sea moss, I'm like, you know what? I gotta have purple sea moss because it has purple in it, or anthocyanins. As you can see, I'm sitting in my garden. We got red lettuce here, which has purple. We got the really nice, vibrant purple mizuna there. Of course, we got standard green dinosaur kale back there. We got some more red lettuces over here and some red beet greens in the back. But when I saw this purple sea moss, I had to get it. So you guys can get this stuff at alphamoonrising.com. They had actually different colors. They had like a purple, a green, and then more of that standard color. And instead of being harvested in the Philippines, this stuff is actually harvested in the Caribbean. I think St. Lucia. Hiring local farmers down there, or local people to farm it. Now, it is more expensive than the other stuff, but you guys get what you pay for. Next question is from Blue, and this is regarding, well, you're going to change the M to a V, since I'm not going to say the V word on my channel, since I've heard it gets channels banned and videos taken down and stuff. So make the M a V. Have you taken any maccines since you went raw years ago? What do you see as the benefits of downsides of taking maccines? Do you think a truly clean, healthy body protects people from possible side effects of maccines? Once again, of the maccines, change the M into a V. All right, so have you taken any maccines since you went raw? No. What do you see as the benefits or downsides of taking maccines? So here's the thing, it depends on the maccine you're taking. I know a lady named Maxine once. And here's the thing, like, everybody, I'm for vaccine freedom. That's what I'm about. Each person needs to do their own research. You know, for my brother, for example, you know, he got the vaccine, and it's probably good for him because he eats junk food, and so at least some protection is probably better than no protection, because if you don't care about your health to eat a standard American diet anyways, you might as well get the vaccine. That being said, for me, you know, the downsides of the potential downsides, and I'm not going to say there are downsides, there's potential downsides that may not be discovered yet, you know, might be worse than, you know, the other option. And in this case, the main vaccine being promoted is the vaccine from the thing that shut down many countries, and is still shutting down countries, I believe I had that illness in February 2020, and it is said that people that have had the illness have like 17 times more immunity to having it than if somebody got a vaccine. So I'm not getting the vaccine at this point. And if I'm locked out of going to some places or not able to travel to some places because of it, I accept the consequences. That being said, I know there are people on both sides, pro and against vaccines, that, you know, may have some things that may not be totally accurate. So once again, people need to do their own research, use your own heads. We have the most powerful supercomputers on the brains, but unfortunately most times we rely on other people to make our decisions for us. Do you think a truly healthy body protects people from the possible side effects of vaccines? No. Some of the side effects of vaccines are not dependent if your body is healthy or not. You know, I know perfectly healthy people that have gotten, you know, mercury toxicity and other toxicities despite having a clean body. So, yeah. I do believe that a healthy body can protect you from some of the different diseases and illnesses out there, you know, if you have a properly functioning immune system. That being said, a lot of people don't have properly functioning immune systems. You know, I got an Uber the other day, and the guy was overweight. He couldn't even get out of his car to help me with my bags, which was fine, because, you know, my bags were 60 pounds, 62 pounds, and 68 pounds or something, because I was bringing back like fruits and worm castings in my bags, which nobody does. And I had to lift them myself, but then we're driving in the Uber, and he's like, yeah, I had the C word, you know, virus twice. And he's like, the first time it took me 2 months to get over it, and this guy's like overweight, and I would call him actually morbidly obese. Maybe he's just clinically obese, but he looked pretty morbidly obese to me. He works a night shift, has 4 kids at home, and, you know, gets 4 hours sleep a night. And then to me, that's like somebody that is just asking for trouble with what's going on out there, because people that have pre-existing conditions such as being obese, and, you know, by the looks of him, I probably had some other health opportunities that he can prove on, you know, could really get sick and die. Eat healthy, have a strong immune system, and that's the best protection you could get. And then, you know, take the vaccine if you want. That's all I'm going to say about that. Next question is from Jake. Do you eat peanut butter to enhance your microbiome? Good question, Jake. So you know I'm all about enhancing my microbiome. And I don't eat peanut butter out of like a jar. Even if it was organic, I won't eat it because it's roasted peanuts. I'm not a fan of roasted foods. As much as, you know, maybe getting some roasted peanuts in you might be good for somebody, it's not good for a raw foodist, because roasting foods and frying foods are the worst ways to process foods in general, unless the food, you know, has exceptional health benefits. I'm not going to eat any roasted foods. There's currently one exception to that. I eat some baru nuts that if I could find heat processed other than roasting, I would do that, but I believe the roasting is not that hot, and it's more of a dry roast versus roasted in oil. And that's because the baru nuts have extremely high antioxidant content. Actually, they're not really even a nut, they're a legume. Kind of like peanuts. And actually, I'd say probably baru nuts are way healthier than peanuts. And the main issue I have with peanuts is the aflatoxin that most peanuts may be contaminated with. So if you are buying peanuts, it's very important to get peanuts that are from a dry climate, or maybe Valencia peanuts that don't tend to have the aflatoxin issues. And so that's rampant, and aflatoxin could cause a lot of issues even in a healthy body. So I do get small amounts of raw peanuts that I will eat raw. Probably the better thing to do. I saw at the last farmer's market I went to, they had actually fresh peanuts, like local grown from the farmers. I should probably buy those and then, you know, cook them. You know, like I would put them in an Instant Pot to pressure cook them, you know, and then be able to eat them to have a wider array of different phytonutrients and, more importantly, fibers from the peanuts. That being said, I do eat raw nut butters. Got some from Matt Monarch. Thanks, Matt. Send it to me complimentary to try. It's all right, but normally I like to make my own nut butters with either like Nutra milk machine or under vacuum in one of my vacuum blenders. The other thing I'll say about peanut butter is that I do get, on very rare occasion, Laura bars, and there's like a Laura bar, peanut butter Laura bar. It has like peanuts and dates or something pressed into a bar, and that's an easy, convenient snack when I'm super lazy. Although I would rather just eat dates and just nuts that I crack out of the shell. All right, next question is from Jared Reynoso. After reading the alliums chapter of Eating on the Wild Side, I now plan on getting a garlic press of some sort. Do you have any recommendations? What do you typically use? How often do you consume garlic? Thank you. All right, Jared. So, I'm glad you read Eating on the Wild Side. I think that should be required reading for every person that's a raw foodist, because that will really, take your diet game to the next level by really learning how agriculture has been, selectively breeding foods for certain traits. And people will learn about some of the benefits in that author's view in terms of specifically antioxidant content, although many of the cooking practices in that book and recipes that she recommends I would not recommend whatsoever, but the information's solid. I'm so glad you're going to include more garlic. That being said, if you remember reading the alliums chapter, she also said that the shallots are even more nutritious and more antioxidant rich than garlic, from what I remember. So I've been growing shallots every single season since I learned about them. Yeah, so eat some shallots, and the shallot greens more important than just the shallot bulbs. And on the garlic, I encourage you to eat the garlic greens that, you can grow yourself. Otherwise, they kind of are hard to find unless you go to maybe an Asian market. But for garlic, I eat it in many ways. So I'll eat like black garlic, which is basically, I used to sell a black garlic fermenter. I have a video on how I make black garlic at home. And that really takes the bite out of it, but there's still some good properties in the garlic left. In addition, I eat fresh garlic, whether that's in a powder that I put in most of my dressings, soups and sauces and salads. So that means in small quantities, I eat these things on a regular basis. And about maybe once every 2 weeks, I literally use like one whole head of garlic in like a sprouted buckwheat, avocado, garlic with parsley or cilantro, chopped finely as a salad. And that really is super strong at that point. The garlic press I used to use was the one from IKEA. I like that garlic press a lot, although I got this roller press. It's basically like concave and has all these holes. From Amazon, you just roll it against your cutting board, and then it just basically mashes everything up. I think that works well, and actually I'm liking that one, but it depends how much garlic I'm doing. That one's a lot easier to clean as well. Next question is from Aloma. How can I live this lifestyle working a third shift job? My goal is to be as healthy as possible. Working a third shift job is detrimental to your health. All right, so you said it. If your goal is to be as healthy as possible, but you're working a third shift job, that job is contrary to your goal of living as healthy as possible, because third shift workers, according to the science that I've seen, is really the worst time to work. So, if your job is more important to you and the money that you're making is more important to you than your health, then continue with your job. But I would, try to find an exit strategy, honestly, because honestly, we're really not nocturnal creatures. I'm sorry. We could adapt to that being that, but we're really not designed to be nocturnal creatures and be up at night and then sleep in the daytime. Much like the guy I got the Uber from, right? He works all night from like 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. so he could spend time, because he's a single parent with his 4 kids, which I completely respect that, man. That's hardcore. And I asked him, like, how many hours of sleep do you get? He's like, 4 hours. I'm like, wow, man. Then I'm thinking, man, this guy has pre-existing conditions. He's working a night shift job, and he has 4 kids. Like, I didn't want to say it out loud because, but I thought, like, man, you're not going to be around that long for your kids, man. Like, if he's living that lifestyle. But, everybody's free to choose their own lifestyle, and that's certainly a lifestyle I'm not going to lead. But anyway, so I would say that, how can you live with this lifestyle while eating a third shift job? I would say really, what's really important if you have to work a third shift job is to try to minimally eat during your shift, right? So what you want to do is when you get up for the day, which I don't know what time you're going to get up working a third shift job, maybe 6 p.m. at night, you want to really try to do like one large meal, like at that point, like, you know, dominant, like, you know, fiber-rich foods, pretty good, high in calories. And then if you have to eat during your third shift, I would personally want to juice fast or even just water fast and just drink really light and easy and not try to eat a lot of foods. And then this is not optimal, but then once you get off work, well, yeah, see, but when you get off work, I would not want to try to eat anything heavy once again, you know, and then just go to sleep right after that. That's not optimal. So, I mean, I guess if you had to modify that, I'd say eat heavy and then eat some, you know, fruits. So like eat like a good salad first, then eat some fruits when you're hungry. Then for the rest of the time until you go to bed, just drink juices and try to keep it light. So at least you're gonna have a nice long gap of time where you're not eating. It's shown in science that it's better to eat, you know, eat your biggest meal early in the day, which I've trying to adopt to myself, which can be difficult when I'm a one-man army trying to grow food, prepare food, run a business, and then do my housework, which never gets done. So you just want to try to, you know, eat right before you go to work. Big meal, then a smaller meal, and then just juice, and then even water fast by the time you go to bed. And then the other thing I'd say is really important is, most important, man, is when you're sleeping in the daytime, make sure you have the best blackout curtains to keep it completely dark where you're sleeping in the middle of the day. No light creeping through. And if you could work your third shift job at night, try to minimally expose yourself to like hardcore, intense, bright lights. You know, try to work under a red light. I don't know if they're going to allow you that at your third shift job, depending on what you're doing. Or no lights at night. So, I mean, those are my best things. I mean, need to get enough sleep, need to get enough exercise, all the common stuff. But yeah, that's what I'd recommend in terms of like eating. Next question is from Joe. What do you see in specific detail the raw vegan culture looking like 7 generations into the future? What do you picture an entire raw vegan society looking like from micro to macro? All right, Joe, so raw vegan culture like in 7 generations in the future. So that is actually quite a ways away. And you know, here's the thing. I don't even know if raw veganism will be alive in 7 generations if things are going the way they go now. You know, there's getting to be so many different, you know, popular influencers that go on a raw vegan diet then fail because they've done an inappropriate or improperly planned raw vegan diet, maybe high fruit, too many mono meals, not eating enough vegetables, water fasting to the point of screwing up their microbiome, and then they just start eating meat. And then so what if all those videos get remembered in the cloud? And then people just look at raw foods and like, oh, that never works. Right? So I think it's very important for people now to adopt a healthy raw foods diet that like I like to promote, which is very rich in vegetables. A few videos ago I made what's the best balance of fruits to vegetables. And I mean minimum. If you're eating 1 pound of fruit, you got to eat 1 pound of vegetables to go along with that. And I see so many people on YouTube making what I eat in a day videos. They're eating nowhere near 1 to 1. And to me, that's the minimum. I mean, I eat like 3 to 1. I eat 3 pounds of vegetables to 1 pound of fruits. Well, that's my goal anyways. Do I meet that every day? Not exactly. Today I've eaten like more fruits than vegetables because I just got back from a trip and my juices that I had prepared mostly are fruit-based because I'm out of vegetable-based juices. But I got to make some today. But I will get more vegetables than today, mark my words. And I have plenty of them in my garden. So I don't know if I foresee it going in 7 generations. You know, hopefully the best information and the best raw food teachers with the information that works, that get people successful and give them the results they desire, continues to proliferate. I hope one day to have a book, you know, to get my message and my thought process and what I do on my specific diet that I've come up with, you know, out to people for the future. Of course, I have all the videos with all of our information right now, but it's a lot of content to go through, to sift through, to find the specific information you need. What do you picture an entire raw vegan society to look like from micro to macro? So here's the thing. I don't ever foresee a raw vegan society occurring on the planet. Maybe even in the universe, honestly. It is such a fringe thing and it's so different and unique. Although I do see raw vegan communities, you know, like I've seen co-housing communities with raw vegans and stuff, which traditionally hasn't worked well and not succeed. for various reasons. But I can't picture an entire raw vegan society. I just don't think it's going to honestly happen. I mean, I'd like it to happen. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody should eat a good percentage of raw fruits and vegetables, absolutely. But will everybody go through the extent it takes to live, the 99 or 100% raw vegan? I don't think so, man. I'll tell you guys, honestly, it is a lot of work. Well, the way I do raw vegan, I don't just go to the store and eat raw vegan. I grow it, I process it, I live it, I share it. It's a good half-time job keeping up with everything I need to keep up with so that I can maintain my diet. And I know some people might think, John, you're crazy to work, 20-hour work week to keep up with your diet and do all the stuff you do. But here's the thing, my quality of life is so much better because I'm doing that. And more importantly, my quality of life will maintain and even improve over time, whereas most people's totally degrade. Their health degrades and falls in the gutter, right? That being said, I do foresee plant-based societies in the future. Absolutely. And what I envision that to look like is basically living off the land and having a community garden or farm for a whole area. So like we have public parks in certain areas. I mean, those are just gonna be farms where locally grown food could be produced. People are growing their own food. People are more compassionate to the animals. I think that's going to be amazing, and hopefully it happens one day. Next question is from Anna Lai. If you only had access to non-organic berries / dirty dozen foods, would you still eat them? I.e., choice to eat pesticide grown versus none at all. Benefits of phytochemicals, polyphenols, etc. versus toxicity of pesticides. I'm living abroad and only occasionally can find frozen organic berries, which I love so much. Luckily, I have access to lots of tropical fruits. Even so, it's hard to find fruits that are explicitly pesticide-free. The imported organics have probably been irradiated, and I can't really grow food beyond my apartment. Usually, I figure something is better than nothing, but I worry when it comes to the dirty dozen. Having grown up in California, I've been spoiled with easy access to organics. All right, Anna, so here's the thing. This is a multi-complex question. So luckily, I only buy organic berries. If I don't find organic berries, I'm not buying organic berries. Or I'm not buying any berries, personally, unless they're from a farmer's market and they're from a spray-free farm and the berries actually taste exceptionally good. I will buy frozen berries, but that is definitely not my first choice. I do buy only frozen wild blueberries at present time. Otherwise, I usually freeze my own berries that I buy that are organic, because I usually have excess berries I buy if I can't eat them all. That being said, if I only had access to non-organic berries, dirty dozen foods, would I still eat them? And the answer is, if I couldn't get any other sources of organic berries. So before I even went to dirty dozen berries, what I would do first is try to find organic berries, frozen, like you are doing, that can be hard to find. The other thing I would do, and this also depends on your financial resources, is I would buy frozen organic dried berries, or more specifically freeze-dried berries. Freeze-drying, or more importantly, refractants window drying, which most places don't even do, but not even air drying or tunnel drying, right? Or drum drying, organic berries I would eat before I got conventional berries fresh. That being said, organic dried berries, especially freeze-dried ones, are very expensive. So then you got to ask yourself, what's more important to you? The money you have for organic berries that are also very highly concentrated versus, dirty dozen conventional berries that may be a lot cheaper. And it's only a question you can answer. For me personally, no question about it. I would try to get frozen berries first. Couldn't do that. I'd get the dried, berry powders, freeze-dried or refractants window. I wouldn't really, unless I couldn't get those two, I wouldn't get the tunnel dried or air dried or drum dried. But I have bought air dried berries before just to get powders. That I have a whole selection in my home so that I could get those into me even if they're not fresh, because a lot of the polyphenols and things stay active even if they're, freeze dry is the best, but even in drum dried, that's better than the other stuff that's not. And I've been able to buy these directly from farms at great expense, so that I could have some of these berry powders, including things like pomegranate powder and cranberry powder. So here's the thing, if I couldn't get any organic berries, frozen or dried, freeze-dried or refracted, window dried, I would buy small amounts of the non-organic berries. That being said, I wouldn't just buy the non-organic berries and then eat them. I would then process them additionally to remove the pesticides that aren't systemic. So if they're topical pesticides, in many cases they can be removed. How would I remove them personally? Well, they got all those stupid, vinegar, salt, and pesticide washes that, I have used in the past. But I personally would use ozonation. So ozonation in water is basically, ozone is basically will kill all the bacteria on there. It also it will oxidize like, pesticides to some extent. It's certified by the FDA to kill the bacteria so that there's not foodborne outbreaks in like fresh juices. Saw it at a trade show when they were selling stuff for commercial use. Then the other thing I do is I do ultrasonic vibration. So they have machines, and I have one actually. It's a little tub of water you fill up, it ultrasonically vibrates and puts ozone into the water at the same time to basically, reduce the toxic load of the pesticides and bacterial loads on there. So then I would do that, and then I would eat them. So, and then the other thing is, what are you eating besides the non-organic berries? Is the options like non-organic berries or eat more tropical fruit like bananas? Absolutely, I would eat the non-organic berries before I bought local organic bananas that were Cavendish, that were very low quality. Maybe they're like beta carotene rich Fahey bananas that are like orange. I'd probably eat those organic before I got the non-organic berries, because I'm all about the polyphenols and especially things that are purple. That being said, I'll let you guys know also some of the research I've seen. The purple content of your vegetables, such as the mizuna here, red lettuces, and red kales, are better absorbed, the polyphenols, like the anthocyanins, from vegetables than fruits. So if you do eat anthocyanin-rich fruits or polyphenol-rich fruits, eat it with some extra protein. Take some spirulina with it at the same time. Eat some extra greens. Take some duckweed powder, lentine powder. So hope that answers your question, Anna. A little bit complex answer. I never usually just have this or that. You gotta kind of figure out all the different options here. Next question is from Luz. Have you looked into the Bloom product for making fresh spirulina? I'm considering buying one and would love your opinion. They're looking at adding chlorella to the options as well, which I'm really excited about. All right, Luz, so I did look up the Bloom product, and I am on their email list, and I get a couple emails from them. I looked into that, and the thing is, if it works, I am 100% for it, and people should get it. That being said, I've invested my money into Indiegogo campaigns and different, things like that, where I give them a lot of money. I put money down on a tempeh maker that they're still saying is going to come out, and I'm probably like lost the money, man. It was like 5 years ago. So, like a lot of those things, and like people bought the juicer, originally Juicer, Juicer, that I saw at CES, and I shared with people. People ended up putting money in on that campaign, Kickstarter, and then Indiegogo, and they basically never got the machine. So I'm quite weary of products like that, especially if there's never been one before. There's another company working on an automatic spirulina growing machine I saw at CES, but it never came out. So my whole approach would be wait and see. Don't pre-buy one now. Save your money, unless you have money to blow, because they might not ever come out with it. Wait until it's actually out. Once it is actually out, I will be requesting a machine from them for review, and hopefully they send me one, and I will make a review on it on my gardening channel. I think everybody should be growing spirulina, and especially even chlorella if they are able, and eating it fresh. It is a world of difference being fresh versus being dried. I currently buy my fresh spirulina from a farm in California. Next question is from Patricia Griffin. If you can't get fresh food, what in your opinion is the best canned or food in a pouch? All right, Patricia, so I'm not a big fan of canned foods. It's been heat processed and probably is in a BPA line can, unless you buy certain health food brands that don't have a BPA line can. So the best food in a pouch is actually freeze-dried food. So it's what campers take when they're camping, or astronauts take to the moon station or wherever they're going, the space station. And and that's what I take when I'm traveling. I take freeze-dried pouches of food, whether it's fruits, salads, or soups that I make. Freeze-dried food is the best food to eat. If you search like North Bay freeze-dried, they're a big company that sells all different kinds of freeze-dried foods you could buy. Next question is from Texas, or Tex-Ass. How nutritious are loofas? Would it be best to low heat cook them? All right, so loofas are the things that you like clean your body with when they're old and mature. If you're asking how nutritious are they are like 100% fiber. Could you cook them and eat them? I'm sure you could somehow, but it'd be mostly fiber and you probably wouldn't have a lot of nutrients in there. That being said, as far as I'm aware, the little loofas, you can grow loofah gourds, and when they're really small, they're kind of like zucchini. So you harvest them when they're little babies, and at that point, you can eat them raw. No need to cook them. Don't cook them. Don't waste the energy to cook them. Just eat them raw. As they get bigger, they probably get more fibrous, and then you might want to heat process them. And if it was me, I would eat them when they're raw, and if they got bigger, then I'd just save them for sponges personally. But if you want to heat process them when they're getting more mature, I would probably put them in an Instant Pot and steam them for the minimum amount of time. Next question is from Daniela Pettis. Hi John, love your videos. You're awesome. Do you have cravings for not so healthy food, and what do you do about it? All right, Daniela. So, I've been living a raw foods diet now since 1995. I basically don't get cravings for like things normal people would get cravings for. Like, I don't crave cookies, I don't crave Butterfingers, I don't crave ice cream, I don't crave Coke, I don't crave, cheese, I don't crave bread, I don't crave any of the things that the common person does, because it's just been so damn long that I've eaten those things and I've probably literally have forgotten what they taste like. And I could care less what they taste like at this point in my life. So I really don't get cravings for not so healthy on food. When I have a craving for sweet or a need that I feel is not being met, then I could definitely, look throughout my kitchen and find like, what am I gonna eat now? Because I'm really still hungry, and it's probably usually because I haven't eaten enough calories during the day. Then what I usually do is I usually end up eating some dates and then some nut butter, or I'll take nuts and just crack the nuts and then put the nuts on the dates and eat them, or I will eat some dried figs, or I'll eat some other kind of freeze-dried food. Probably the best thing I binge on when I'm like late and need to eat more is like freeze-dried wild blueberries. That's probably one of the healthiest things you could binge on, because they're not that sweet and they're very high in anthocyanins. Although I probably should add some like spirulina tablets or chlorella tablets in with that, so when I shake them out, I'll get like tablets with the blueberries at the same time. I'll also snack on like freeze-dried natto, so I'm getting my K2 plus some umami flavor and some extra beans in me. Other than that, I might eat some heat processed food. So I'll eat some plain, purple potatoes, or I'll eat some, like this time of year, it's artichoke season. So I'll just cook up some artichokes, and they're very low calorie and just kind of fill me up a little bit more. Or I'll have something maybe salty, so then I'll do like some kind of like freeze-dried or dried kale chips that I made, or lettuce chips. I still have lettuce chips that I grew like last year that I dried from all my lettuce I grew last year. That's me. I don't really have like cravings for not so unhealthy food. And if say I have a craving for ice cream, instead of eating ice cream, if I want something cold, well, I have raw vegan ice cream, different flavors like cannabis, vanilla, Lacuma I made, strawberry in my fridge, like anytime I want to eat it. But I usually don't eat that because it's like higher in fat than I'd like. So then I would basically make like a frozen banana, dragon fruit, wild blueberry, organic frozen cherry, like fruit sorbet in the pure juicer. And it's amazing. So, I would encourage you, if you're having cravings, is to find, if you're craving salty foods, eat some more seaweed, right? I have these seaweed wraps that I made with dehydrated seaweed with like a pepper tomato dressing with a little nuts and seeds in there and dehydrated. Then I could eat that for a nice salty texture, and it's also hot and spicy because I had some cayenne pepper that I grew in there. And that kind of quenches my cravings. Also, my dog loves those too. So yeah, find something that's healthy that you would eat instead of the junk food to, like, as a substitution is what I'd recommend. All right, next question is from Natural Healing. What's your take on children? Do you think it's okay to raise raw vegan kids? Okay to have raw vegan pregnancy? All right, so my take on children is children are great. I like children and I want to have children. Do you think it's okay to raise raw vegan kids? And the answer is that depends if it's an appropriately planned raw vegan diet. You know, clearly a vegan diet is appropriate for people of all different ages, stages, and pregnant or not women. Meanwhile, kids can also be vegan if it is appropriately planned. I'm against staunchly, you know, processed food vegan diets that are deficient. I am also staunchly against improperly eaten raw vegan diets. I've seen people, you know, that have fed their kids a very limited raw vegan fruitarian diet without that many vegetables. I don't think that should be allowed. I think unhealthily, not properly planned raw vegan diet can be detrimental. But then again, I also think that a improperly planned standard American diet should be outlawed and should not be able to be fed to kids either, because that's not nourishing them. So we shouldn't just pick on a raw vegan, or junk food diet. We should, you know, specifically look at what is actually healthy for the child. And, you know, I think that especially for children, it's very important that kids have a good source of EPA and DHA, whether they're going to make it themselves, whether they're going to get it through their mother's breast milk, or whether they're going to take an algae-based supplement for it. I think that is actually quite critical, as well as all the different phytonutrients and trace minerals. And I can't wait, honestly, to have kids so that I could try to feed them the best I think they could eat. And then I'll even need to research more about what do kids need besides the DHA and all the different trace minerals and folate and all the different things they need to be healthy. Because honestly, I haven't really looked into that yet. I just know what an adult needs, and maybe the kid needs that, some things in higher amounts and some things in lower amounts. Is it okay to have a raw vegan pregnancy? You know, I've known actually personally many people that have been, you know, pregnant on a raw vegan diet. And I think once again, if it is appropriately done, then yes. I mean, if you lose your menstrual cycle because you're under eating calories and eating too much fruit, which happens to many people, then guess what? Nature will just not allow you to have kids. Furthermore, maybe if you do get pregnant, then you'll have an abortion because you don't have all the mama doesn't have all the nutrients the mama needs to have a kid. So, you know, I mean, we're also gonna like protect ourselves if we're not healthy or have enough calories or have enough nutrients. We're not gonna make a baby naturally. I mean, this is happening to just the standard American population who are just eating junk food. So infertility is on the rise and at an all-time high because of the people's diet. I mean, that's probably because of its mostly standard American diet. So yes, I think a properly planned raw vegan pregnancy is absolutely 100% helpful. And I would say that, you know, when I do have a partner, wife, whatever, the label they want to call themselves, you know, I would want them to supplement with DHA and EPA, and especially eat lots of leafy greens and eat a lot of local foods and foods I grew so that I can know it could have the best microbiome and also the minerals in the food, which is where the nutrients should come from in food. Next question is from Lawrence Mason. What, if any, mistakes did you make going raw vegan at first? What did you know now that you wish you knew when you started a raw vegan diet? All right, so Lawrence, first thing, check the link down below for 20 things I wish I knew 20 years ago when I went raw vegan. That's gonna sum them all up for the most part. Now, there are a few new things that I've learned since I made that video, but I think the main thing, looking back at my experience going raw vegan, literally, you know, in 1995, is that I ate way too much fruit, especially dried fruit, because I was just trying to stay raw, and that was the most important thing to me. But I didn't quite understand that it's more important to actually be healthy than just to be raw, because just because you're eating raw doesn't mean it's healthy. And that's actually a talk that I was giving for a while, and there's a few of those on YouTube that you might want to look up. Just because it's raw doesn't mean it's healthy. Link down below if I can remember. But yeah, you got to make sure you get your vegetables in. I mean, a lot of people on YouTube nowadays that are maybe 4, 5, 8 years raw food, they're making videos like they're the experts, which is, you know, they're right if they think they're an expert and they've been doing it 4, 5, or 6, or 8 years or whatever. You know, I've been doing this 26 years. I've been around the block, you know what I'm saying? I mean, not like in bed, but I've been around the block, you know, with the raw foods diet. And, you know, vegetables are really key. And, you know, I mean, if people would follow my lead, I eat 3 pounds of 1 pound, 3 pounds of vegetables and 1 pound of fruit is my goal every single day. And most people are eating, you know, way more fruit and very little vegetables and very few varieties. I mean, that's the other thing too I didn't really focus on when I was younger as well, like eating as much vegetables and eating a wide variety of different fruits and vegetables, you know, sticking to my favorite, you know, whatever I was eating at the time. Luckily, I live in California, so I'd eat, you know, seasonally always, and I'd always appreciate citrus in the winter and persimmons in the winter and the fall, and, you know, eat berries in the spring and all these things. But I really now have an even greater diversity of foods because I grow them myself. Like, you know, as you can see, I have like red lettuces here, red lettuces there, red lettuces there. I mean, I don't even think I'm growing any green lettuce. Why am I going to grow green lettuce when red lettuce is so much more nutritious? And so now I'm really, you know, focusing in and dialing in my diet. So I'd only encourage you to watch my recent episodes and just, you know, if I say something, you know, it's not because I'm just, you know, thinking it's good. I mean, there's definitely science research, and I've proven this to myself, and that's why I'm recommending it to you guys. All right, so our next question is from Drew E. Have you looked into some of the lies of organic and how sometimes the USDA fails to regulate organic farming? All right, so yes. So here's the thing, organic is not a perfect system. It is a rule and guidelines that may be even lackadaisically enforced at certain times, but it is at least a standard to go by that if it is followed could be at least better than conventional foods in my book. That being said, you know, I grow personally better than organic, right? I do practices that organic farmers simply do not do. You know, I grow certain plants for certain reasons. I add things to my soil that organic farmers are not doing. And yes, there are many lies in organic agriculture, and the USDA is nowhere near perfect, and they can't enforce all the farms and all these things. So, you know, while I do strive to buy as much organic as possible, do I fool myself and think it's the best? Absolutely not. I know the best is me growing it myself because I control every aspect of the growing procedure, from the soil, you know, to you know, the light exposure, to the microbes I'm spraying, the compost teas I'm using, the minerals I'm adding, to the kinds of plants I'm actually growing, to the environment, to the best that I could modulate my environment, you know, to when I harvest it and how it is treated post-harvest. All these things are super important. So just to say that, yeah, there's lies in organic, so I'm never going to buy organic and just get conventional, you know, you got to ask yourself and teach yourself good, better, best. You know, here's the thing. The best is growing it yourself. You know, I'd rather you grow in your own apartment or condo or wherever you live some microgreens than buy even organic lettuce. Why? Because you did it yourself. It's going to be healthier. Microgreens are even more healthier than just the full-size greens anyways. It's going to be a lot cheaper and way more nutritious. And you know the growing cycle. You could source organic seeds. You could grow it in FDA food-safe trays instead of plastic trays. You know, so many different things that you guys can't control when you get to choose when you harvest it, you know. You don't get to choose if you go to the store, even organic produce, like was that harvested a week, a month, 2 months, 3 months? Was it in cold storage a year like some of the apples you're buying right now? You know, I don't know. These things are quite important to me. So you shouldn't just say organic's always bad. I mean, it's definitely better for what you could buy in an industrial, commercialized society that we live in. But always support local farmers, ask them questions. I'm not even worried about, you know, if the farmer's not certified organic. I'm more interested in what he sprays on his produce, how he controls pests, what does he add to the soil to add fertility, where does he get his trace minerals from, is he adding beneficial microbes to his soil or not, you know, is he using a fungal dominated compost? There's so many other questions that are way more important than just, is it organic or is it not organic, right? And once again, like I answered the question earlier, even conventionally grown produce is better than not eating produce at all. Next question is from Emily Berry. Do you ever take systematic enzymes like serrapeptase, which is actually from silkworms, although they may have a vegan source these days, and bromelain, which is from pineapples, to aid in recovery and decrease inflammation? All right, Emily, so I take enzymes every evening. They are food grade enzymes, but they also have very high protein digesting capabilities because I planned it that way. It's just the MRM enzymes are what I'm currently taking. I mean, you can get Lucrona enzymes and all these different other brands. I don't really care. But you know, I think taking a good enzyme supplement once a day can be helpful. I think systemic enzymes can be helpful, but you shouldn't just rely on only systemic enzymes. We should be eating a diet rich in enzymes and eating clean foods so you don't have the inflammation. You know, if every time I get my blood checked on a live blood cell analysis, which I haven't gotten done so many times, they always say there's crap in my blood and you need to take enzymes. So I just take them every night before I go to bed. So if I eat late, then they're going to help digest my food. And if I hadn't eaten late and I haven't eaten for a couple hours, then it's going to act more like systemic enzymes. Last question is from Alice Coppers. Can you do some fresh veggie recipes? What do you cook, or is it all raw? So I have videos on what I cook. Link down below. I heat process very select, you know, vegetables that can't necessarily be eaten raw in my Instant Pot, including things like artichokes, or things I don't want to eat raw, like you could eat artichokes raw. Things like purple potatoes, things like purple sweet potatoes, they could also be eaten raw as well, but they have different benefits when they are heat processed. I cook some usually urad dal beans for high omega-3 content and have a more variety in my diet. I've been heat processing some malanga soon, and I've been doing the yucca, which is very high into like a starch. It tastes very plain because I don't salt it or do nothing to it. It's not too good. That's what I heat process. Other than that, I eat all raw vegan. I'd encourage everybody, you know, to eat mostly raw vegan as much as you could get in, and heat process some items if you want. To use my vegetables, I have recipes already online, many already. My favorite recipe to make these days is my raw vegan soup. It is always evolving and changing and based on whatever I'm growing in my garden, but it's usually based on a juice, and usually it's bell pepper juice. If I don't have bell peppers, then I make tomato juice or carrot juice, and that is the base of my soup. And my soup just allows me to really crank in more vegetables than I can in a salad, and even other foods such as things like tempeh or some of the heat processed beans or mushrooms that I also heat process to eat to get them into me to get greater diversity. So yeah, my raw vegan soup is my #1 recipe, and I'd encourage all you guys to go out of your way, make some more raw vegan soups, because it really cranks in vegetables in a greater extent even than a salad can, in my personal opinion. And that's the end of this month's Q&A. If you guys enjoyed this Q&A, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. If you have a question for me that you want to get answered, link down below to my comments tab so you can submit it there, make it answered for next month's Q&A. Also be sure to click that subscribe button down below and make sure you click the bell so you get notified as my new videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. My past episodes are a wealth of knowledge. Over 600 episodes at this time on this YouTube channel dedicated to teaching you guys all about eating plant-based, fruit and vegetable dominated, nutrient-dense diet. So with that, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.